Hey, Cavs fans, welcome to another episode of the Cavs Pick and Roll Podcast, the podcast for diehard fans by diehard fans. I'm Alex, and I'm here with my man, Corey. What's up, Corey?
Man, it's been a long 5.5 months, Alex.
But we're back.
We finally made it. It's a beautiful time of the year. The leaves are starting to change. We're getting better sleeping weather at night, right? The kids are picking out Halloween costumes. And basketball is back in the month of October. It's been so long. I can't tell you how happy I am. Seriously.
Oh, yeah. Media Day just happened. It was awesome. It was great to see all the players back in the building.
Just let you know that it's real, right? Training camp's already kicked off for the Cavs. Media Day, the preseason. The Cavs have their first preseason game October 10th. That's like next week, Alex, from when we're recording
exactly
this.
1 week, yeah.
Like, it's all of a sudden, the summer has been like, this sucks, there's no basketball, what do we do? And now all of a sudden, it's here, right? And yeah, some people might not really care, right? It's preseason, it's media day, but at the end of this month, like, actual official games start as well. And we all know how fast the days and weeks go by now. Like, that's going to be here in a blink of an eye. Game one of the 2023-2024 season for the Cleveland Cavaliers is just mere weeks away now. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's there's just a lot of energy.
Yeah. So I think we obviously want to talk media day stuff, right? Because that just happened, and give some reactions to kind of what we heard, right? And these things you always got to take with a grain of salt. These guys are all professionals. They know how to talk. They know how to answer questions. But every year, there does seem to be some tidbits that are worth pulling out from what players, coaches, whoever speaks at these things, and just talk about it a little bit, give a little bit of analysis, right? And Media Day just happened on Monday of this week, right? So it's still pretty fresh. And where do you kind of want to kick it off? What do you want to start with? Do you want to just get the elephant out of the room and start with Koby?
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm going to start with my best Koby Altman impression here. This one's for you, Koby.
Oh, man.
I got a new one here tonight. I got a 10-year single malt scotch. It's called Aaron, Arran. Very delicious.
Very nice.
Usually more of a bourbon guy, but doing the scotch tonight. Yeah,
so
that's my ode to Koby Altman right there.
Geez. So that happened a couple weeks ago now, right? The Koby Altman gets an OVI, right?
Right.
And the video is obviously leaked online because it's 2023 and that's just how life is, right?
It was his birthday party, right? He was coming home.
Walk me through
his birthday.
Yep.
He gets pulled over. He gets asked to do the breathalyzer. He refuses.
Yep. They
have him step outside the car to do field sobriety tests. He does. It does not go well. He's a little wobbly.
Yep.
He's they ask him to stand on one foot, lift one leg, look down at his foot, and start counting. And he can't do it. He keeps kind of falling over, and he's telling the police officer, you know, stop it. You know what? You're making me lose focus. I'm trying to focus. You're messing with me. The cop's like, I'm not doing nothing. So, and that's really been it. That's been all the news. You know, the body cam footage of the incident happened. You can find it on YouTube if you want to see it. He was definitely well outside of someone who should be driving. No question.
He was wasted, and if I recall, didn't he slip in there? Like, you know who I am. Like,
I don't remember
that card. I thought I saw that or heard that.
Remember that.
Like you know who I am, kind of thing. You know what I mean? But yeah, the video was not in good taste, right? And I was, for a little bit there, I was like, is he going to keep his job? Because he's in a pretty high position in the organization. That's a pretty public thing that's out there, and obviously not how you want, someone that high up to be representing, your team and your franchise and ultimately your investment, right? If you're the owner of the franchise of the team. And he was there today or not today, he was there this week at Media Day. So that tells you a lot, right? He's still around. And I will give him credit for this. He did get out in front of it by addressing it right away. He basically apologized, felt bad that it has been a distraction for the team, for himself, so on and so forth. And, everybody makes mistakes, right? But
Right.
at the same time, it's like, that was you and I. Would we have a job? You know what I mean? Like, probably not. So take it for what it is. But
I
yeah,
like that it was the very first thing that he came out and addressed.
yeah,
And he said, I
yep,
talked to the players, I talked to coaches, I talked to ownership. I can't say any more about it because it's a pending legal matter.
sure,
Let's get on to what we're all here for, which is Cavs basketball. Bickerstaff walks in behind him, pats him on the shoulder, kind of a good sign of support, sits
yeah.
down. They start taking questions.
Yeah, that was the right way to play it. And I like Koby. I think I've talked about that over the years. He's, again, has won more trades than he has lost, in my opinion. He's young yet. And I know there's fans out there that don't like him. There's always going to be the other side of that fan base that doesn't like somebody that you like, right? And that's fine. But I like Koby. He's young. And, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to see someone that's with the organization for a while. Remember, he was the first person, I think he was the first person under Dan Gilbert that got an extension at that GM level. First person to do it. You know what I mean? So we'll see what ultimately happens. He's around for now. And remember, too, he got promoted last year, so he's in a little bit of a different position. But I agree. It was the best play he had was just come out and address it. Don't let Chris Fedor ask you about it. Just
Right.
get it out of the way and you move on. And that's exactly the way it happened and the best case scenario for him.
Someone did end up asking him a question about it.
I'm sure.
Did you catch that?
I didn't catch
Somebody
that, but
did, but
yeah.
it was, he said that he couldn't talk about it, that he felt
Yeah.
bad about the situation.
What do you want him to say? I mean,
Yeah,
what do you
yeah.
really
What's
want
he
him to
gonna
say?
say? Yeah.
Yeah. So let's start at the top, though. So Koby and Bickerstaff obviously come out first and talk at Media Day for a pretty decent amount of time. I think it was a good 30 minutes or so. Um, was there anything either one of them said that caught your ear, caught your attention in general?
Um, they asked him about how last season ended against the Knicks, and they asked about, what, you know, kind of question the Cavs' toughness and size. Um, so they talked about that for a little bit. They said that, without question that, this team was tough. They're mentally tough, physically tough. You don't get to be a 50+ win team if you're not tough. So he thought that was, a non theme that
Mm-hmm.
seems to be running. The other thing that they talked about, I think, that I thought was pretty good was they asked him about, uh, Donovan Mitchell's contract again, which has been a theme over the course of the entire offseason, even though he's still under contract for 2 more seasons.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, so he can still play through this season and sign an
He can
extension
sign an
next
extension
season.
next summer. Next summer he can sign an
Right,
extension. And
right.
Mitchell
So,
even said that himself too when
mhm.
when he got up to the podium and was asked about it. But yeah, I liked what they said there too, which was basically, we've had positive conversations with Mitchell about an extension, but at the same time, neither side is in a rush to do it right this second. So you can read into that what you will, right? There'll be some fans that say, oh, well, that's bad because, now we can potentially lose him for nothing. We need to trade him by this summer, so we don't get stuck in a scenario where, we lose him for nothing after next season and we need him to sign now and all that kind of stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, if I'm someone at Mitchell's caliber of a player, yeah, sure, Cleveland can offer me the most amount of money, years and money, right? But at the same time, wouldn't I want to see, wouldn't I want to put a little bit of pressure on the organization to make sure that they're serious about this window? Maybe I want to make sure that Evan Mobley is going to be the next biggest thing, and Darius Garland, like before I sign on the dot for 5-6 years, whatever it is, like play through this season, right? And he can go from there. So it's like you said, it's going to be a theme until the day he signs or leaves the organization. It's just the
Yeah,
way it is.
like you said, they asked Garland the same question. Garland said,
Yeah,
"Hey, he's here wearing a Cavs jersey. What more do you want?" Um,
exactly.
yeah, it was. They asked Tristan Thompson the same question because it was a similar situation as to LeBron being in Cleveland and how did
Sure.
LeBron talk to the team about when his extension was always up, and Tristan talked about, hey, when LeBron was here, he's kept signing 1+1 deals that we all know kind of hamstrung the organization, during those later LeBron years. So it is what it is. You know, you can't worry about it. We're here to play basketball. We're here to win now. So
Yeah, totally. Another thing that they kind of addressed too was Ricky Rubio. So Rubio was not at media day. It was an excused absence. What was it, a month or two back? You know, Basically it was announced that he was stepping away from basketball due to mental health, and just was going to figure himself out. But the one positive that they said at media day was there has been no conversations as of yet about Rubio talking retirement. So that's good, right? Obviously, we want what's best for Rubio, right? And if he decides to hang it up at the end of the day, hey, like I said, once you put on that Cavs uniform, you're a legend either way. But that first season he was here, he had some magical games that if you were a Cavs fan at that time, for that little stretch, you'll never forget some of the things that he did. So in our eyes, he's good no matter what, right? But I do hope he does come back. I do think he brings something, he brings value to the team, right? As long as he's healthy and his head is right.
mm-hmm.
Um, you know, he could be still a nice backup to Darius Garland, help teach the young guys, run that second unit with LeVert, and Tristan Thompson now, whoever else is going to be out there. And I was disappointed to not really hear anything about a timeline, but at the same time, I also don't want to hear that, hey, he's deciding to hang it up and retire at the same time.
Right. It's just good to hear that, they said that they're in constant communication with him. So
Yeah,
that's kind of all I wanted to hear was that, he didn't fall off the face of the earth. They're still talking to him.
exactly. So we'll see what happens there. Anything else on Bickerstaff or Altman before we move to some of the players and some of their comments?
No, I don't think so. I think that was pretty much the gist of their, talking about
Yeah,
the
it's
team.
it's a lot of the standard stuff, right? Learn from last year, apply it to this year, worry about
Exactly.
ourselves, not worry about the rest of the league. I mean, that stuff's copy and paste year after year, right? So I'm with you there. The players are a little less guarded sometimes, so that's where you can, get some more raw feedback or some funny tidbits and so on and so forth. And I didn't realize that Niang played with Mitchell his rookie year, and he explained how he got the story, how he got the nickname Minivan. Did you hear? Did you hear that?
No, I didn't catch that.
Yeah. So they were together rookie year, and they're practicing or something like that. And Mitchell goes up and does some dunk or something like that, and Niang goes, "Man, you're like a Ferrari." And then they started joking a little bit, and they were saying like for him though, it would take him a couple times to try to do something like got to start it up like a van, like a minivan, you know what I mean, to get it going, kind of thing. And he said that name just kind of stuck with him, and he's gotten used to it. And I will say this: what I liked about him was he seemed pretty humble. He was pretty good at talking, and I even saw a comment on the YouTube video, because the Cavs posted all the media day interviews on their YouTube channel, so you can go back and watch them all. And I was reading some of the comments under his video, and someone commented like, he's definitely going to be a commentator when he retires. And I was like, yeah, I could see that, because this guy knows how to talk. He keeps it
like
cool.
Niang, yeah.
He
had a very strong personality.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I watched the Chase Down podcast had a show going on at Media Day. So they were getting to interview the players kind of a second time after they came down from the podium. So there was a lot of good tidbits from questions they had asked too. If you only saw the Cavs media questions, I would check out the Chase Down podcast that went along with it.
Yeah. So that was good though, but he basically talked about how, it was an easy decision to come to Cleveland. Obviously, we had a need for shooting. That's what he does. And it was kind of a no-brainer. And he also had that history with Mitchell from earlier on in both their careers. And Cleveland's an up and rising team and all that good stuff. So that was good. And then Max Strus, the one comment, and again, he was very good at just answering questions and seemed very humble, hard worker, just wants to come and play and all that kind of stuff. But there was two comments that I caught from him that caught my ear. Was first and foremost, he said the same thing, like Cleveland was an easy decision. They had interest in me. I had interest in them. But he said the first call he made when he was thinking about Cleveland was to Kevin Love. And he said that Kevin Love raved about Cleveland. It's a no-brainer decision. You're going to love the players. You're going to love the organization. You're going to love the city. You're going to love the fans. You're a perfect fit. They need someone like you. You're going to be a big piece to what they're trying to do over there. So someone had asked about Kevin Love, and that's the story that he told, that he was the first person he called, and that Kevin just, the professional he is, just gave praise on Cleveland.
It's good to hear that, because you kind of wonder what the terms were that he left under, if there were any hard feelings there. Sure.
And you never know, things always leak out, right? So you never know how, comments behind closed doors, if something negative was said, there is that potential for something to get out there. And, it didn't break the way you want that to break, right? Because Kevin Love didn't even finish his contract with us. Mm-hmm. So obviously it didn't hit that finish line that both sides wanted to hit. And I'm sure there was some, thoughts about that from Kevin, naturally. What the heck? They don't think I can play anymore? I'm sure he was salty. But at the end of the day, especially now that he's moved on and he's in a different scenario, when you go back and look at it, it's man, I played 8 years there, whatever it was. We had finals runs. I won my championship, maybe my only championship in my whole career. I played with LeBron, Kyrie, maybe get my number retired one day. He should be able to always look back on those Cleveland days with overall fond memories. So it makes sense that he had nothing but praise to say to Max when they talked about it. The other comment that Strus made was somebody asked, "Do you expect to start this season?"
Yes.
Did you catch that? He just
goes, I did. That was good.
He just goes, yes.
Yes.
and then nothing, and then kind of did a little chuckle, and then next question. What I mean?
The funny thing about that was the earlier when they were interviewing Bickerstaff, and they asked him if Strus was going to start, and Bickerstaff said, "I'm not going to give away my secrets," or something like that.
I'm going to tell you that.
It's yeah, I'm not going to tell you that. And then Strus comes right out and says, "Yes, I expect to start." So yeah, that was funny.
So what do you think about that? Obviously, the Cavs, he felt like their number one target, right? They gave him not a boatload of money, but they threw some money his way, and they gave him a couple years. This isn't a 1 or 2 year deal. I think they gave him 4 years or something like that, if I recall. Now it's been a little while, so it seems like they made an investment in him. But how do you feel? Would you, with today's roster, the Leverts, the Kuros, whoever else you want to throw into that conversation, is that who you would start if you were coaching? Without seeing him play yet? I know that's tough to answer.
I know that's tough. All I'm going by is hype
The the,
and
the, the 3-minute YouTube highlight clips you watched
influence
2 months ago.
and bias from everyone else. But
Yeah.
I'm going to say yes because he will stretch the floor for us and give us spacing. And, that's been one of our problems where you got, Jared Allen and Mobley, you got two bigs underneath the basket. So there's not a lot of space. That's something that when they interviewed Karis LeVert, he talked about. So, they
Yep.
asked Karis, how excited are you about these additions of Georges Niang and Max Strus? And he said, it's exciting because we'll have so much better spacing. And he talked about how he was always able to get to the basket. That's one of the best things about his game is how he gets to the basket. And he said, it's been difficult when you got two bigs under the hoop. It kind of kills the spacing for him to be able to do that. So he says with Strus on the floor, stretching it out, being able to be a spot up three, or even hitting threes on the move that we saw him do with the Heat. It should open up the floor for himself and Garland and Mitchell as well.
Yeah, totally. And remember last year there was a lot of moving pieces in that starting position, and I'm for it. At least at the beginning of the season, sign me up. Start Strus. Obviously, you brought him in for a reason, and going to LeVert, which is where I was going to go next,
They should have asked
was
LeVert if he expected to start. I want to.
yeah,
I want to hear him ask everybody that question and hear what they
yeah,
say.
that would have been good. But the one thing I did like that LeVert said was like, at the end of the day, I could play any position, anything they want me to do. He's like, I've been doing that my whole career, right? But last year it was, you're coming off the bench or you're starting. Remember, because you started at the beginning of the year, then you're coming off the bench, then you got to start again because an injury comes up, and now we're going to move you to the 3 instead of the 2, and he was just moved around a lot. So I think it was hard for him to find his spot, his rhythm, right? Because he's constantly playing in a different role. To where now with Strus coming in and you make him your starter for LeVert, like to me, I picture him as like that sixth man, right? That's scoring. Need I say that Colin Sexton type player off the bench, that Jamal Crawford guy that comes in, one of the first or second guys off of your bench to come in and just continue providing, that scoring punch because we know he's capable of it, right? And he has great flashes, right? He has flashes where, he wants to drive some fans nuts as well, but we know he's a bucket at the end of the day. And when you know what your spot's going to be versus, am I going to play 30 minutes tonight or 15 minutes tonight? I think mentally that does something for a player, you know what I mean? And he'll be able to hopefully find his groove a little bit sooner this year than last year because again, bearing there being no major injuries and changes to the starting lineup like there was as many times last year, he should have a home in that second rotation as a scoring punch off the bench.
Yeah, that's one of the things they talked about too, was starting off hot, and that was, I think Georges Niang actually talked about that. That one of the things that he liked about the Cavs was, JB Bickerstaff system and how they've started the past couple of seasons. They've always started off hot, and that
Yeah.
sets the tempo for the rest of the season. And that was something he was looking forward to.
Yeah, totally. So let's go to Mitchell real quick. Was there anything? So Mitchell, like we talked about a couple minutes ago, he addressed his contract situation,
Right.
and he said, "Hey, listen, again, I can." He's like, people forget I can sign an extension next summer, like that ticking time clock that everybody wanted to start 8 months ago, last season. When he came over, like there's been this ticking time clock ever since he came here. But he's like, people don't realize I can sign an extension next summer.
And
You
he
know what I
talked
mean?
about it very positively. He went
Yeah.
just as far enough is everything that he could say without actually saying, yes, I'm going to sign an extension. Exact.
Yeah.
I was having
And,
flashbacks to watching them ask LeBron the same thing.
yeah.
LeBron would always say everything right up to committing. And I got the same feel from Mitchell.
Right. And Mitchell didn't say, and I kept waiting for it. Like, he didn't say we'll see what happens. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? He just said, I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about this team, this group right now, this season, playing basketball, learning from last season, continuing to grow with these guys. He talked about in the off season how they had a couple, player only get togethers / workout sessions in Miami and Connecticut, and they were together in Vegas. So he was just talking more about that, continuing to gel, get to know the new guys that are coming in, and really play more of a leadership role. He talked about how he went from the youngest guy to the oldest guy when he came over to the Cavs, as far as like just years in the NBA and experience, because you got to remember Evan Mobley's 21. These guys are babies yet. So even though Mitchell is 27 or something like that, he's a vet to these guys at this point. So he's just talking about trying to teach them, learn from them, and continue to gel with this group. So nothing too crazy that I took away from Mitchell, but I did like the way that he addressed his contract scenario. Like, listen, I'm not concerned about that, but at the same time, he didn't set off any cryptic, type things in his messaging, or like the antics we used to see
Right.
when LeBron was here.
Right. Yeah. The only other thing I can think of that he talked about that was cool was talking about how, I think it was Max Strus talking about how he had called, I think it was Max Strus. It's either
He
Niang or
did.
Max Strus. Was it Strus? I think he
It
had
was
called
Strus.
Strus and talked to him about joining the Cavs.
Yeah, he's like, I don't want to get penalized for like tampering or something like that.
NBA League, I call him every day.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. He's like, I call Niang just to say hi. I thought that was good too. But what was cool about that was he basically just said, he's like, I really didn't even have to do much. He's like, Strus was already interested.
Well, Strus, it wasn't already working out with the Heat, right? Like they were already looking to
either
not resign him or to move him. I can't remember.
Yeah. So he said he didn't really have to do much, but it's always good hearing that. Like on one end, it'll drive you nuts as a fan that like, did Giannis pick up the phone and call Damian Lillard, which we'll get to here in a little bit, before that trade went down? Like that's BS. That shouldn't be allowed to happen, right? But then at the same time, if you're a Milwaukee fan, you're loving that your main star is going out and doing that. And going back to when LeBron was here, it always kind of felt like, well, was he doing that? Or were other players even taking him serious, because they're looking at his 1-and-1 deals and like, you're not even committed yourself, right, but you want me to come there and sign for a 3-4 year deal? Like it felt like it killed us.
You're giving me PTSD talking about that.
I know. It's amazing, right? So it was good that he kind of called that out. It gives you a reality check of what happens in the NBA. Players call players. It's just the way it is. And but at the same time, he didn't have to do much of a pitch. It was already a done deal at that point. So just the one question I would have is, who else did you call, Mitchell? That ain't here today, right? What about Tristan? I want to ask you about Tristan. That one really hit me, because I was like, man, yeah, it's real. He's back. Like this is nuts. And Tristan is one of those guys that he doesn't age. He still looks like he's a 22-year-old kid.
He looked exactly the same.
He looked exactly the same. He actually looked in better shape than he had over previous years, because he started getting a little plump. But he looked in good shape, and he was joking around, and
he was very candid. And like some of the things he said, I was a little surprised. I was like, I don't know if that player would have wanted you to say that, but or the organization, but I got to try to think of an example now.
Yeah, it was good hearing him laugh. I had a couple grins, on my face, as I'm watching what he's saying and stuff. I guess at the end of the day, what I'm curious to see though is what is his actual role going to be on this team outside of playing mentorship role? Is he going to play 15 minutes a night every night? Like that's what I want to see. Is that what he's going to do? He's not that old yet, right? So could he do it? Yeah, he should be able to, but is that what their plan is for him? I don't know. And that's what I'm curious the most, to see how are they planning on using Tristan Thompson in the rotation this year, or did they not use him in their rotation and he's just on the bench and kind of playing that mentor role?
I think they will. I think they'll plug him in. I think he'll get 10, 15 minutes a night. I think, if Evan and JA are in the paint and they're getting beat up by somebody, they'll put Tristan Thompson in there to muscle some guy around, wear somebody out.
Yeah, I think especially during home games, obviously, I think the fans would love it to see Tristan running around out there and you know, you know, shoot, especially if he goes off a game, grabs 8, 9, 10 rebounds, and he's just getting garbage points, and that ends up being a difference in a game. I mean, I think fans would love it. Under that video in the comments, there was a lot of positive, just comments about Tristan being back. I saw somebody post, now they need to bring back Shumpert. That's what they said. Yeah,
no,
I don't know.
That's not how it works.
No, it's not how it works at all.
Bring back JR too, then.
They're like, yeah, somebody's back from the 2016 championship team.
Henny God.
Like, yeah. So, but it was cool. It was fun seeing Tristan up there again in a Cavs uniform back in Cleveland, and it'll be interesting to see how his season plays out in a Cavalier uniform again. Is there any other players you want to call out, or any other thing that caught your ear worth mentioning at this point?
I mean, the Garland interview was good. Him and Chris Fedor had some back and forth that was pretty entertaining.
Mm-hmm. Fedor asked him, where do you think you rank now in the East after some of the trades that went down? We'll talk about that next. And he goes, well, where do you think we rank? And Chris goes, third or fourth. And he goes, okay, then third or fourth. And Chris is like, you can't say the same thing I say. And Garland goes, why not? And then Chris didn't say anything. And then he says, and then Garland just goes, next question. It was all playful, of course.
Yeah, it was funny.
It was just like, I'm watching, I'm just like, yeah, I got to remember Garland's a kid, basically.
Fedor's right? Like, I asked you first. And Darius Garland's well, now I'm asking you.
Yeah. So not everybody they can be that playful with, right? So Chris seems to have some of the players' ears a little bit better than some of the other folks asking questions, I felt.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, yeah, I mean, Garland talked about the Knicks series. He talked about, somebody asked him, how long did it take you to get over the Knicks series? I was waiting for him to say, to be honest with you, not very long. It's in the past. I can't change the past. All I could do is learn from it, right? And move on, not dwell in the past. But he came out and said it took several months. Now, how legit that is, I don't know. But he said it took several months to get over. It was my first time getting to the playoffs. We're a young up-and-coming team, wanted to show what we're all about. And basically, it didn't end the way we wanted it to end. And he said, I went back and watched that series beginning to end several times over the summer. Saw what we did wrong, saw what we did right, and it just took a while to get over, is what he said. So that was good, because a lot of his answers were kind of playful, right? But that was a pretty mature response, I felt. The kind of response you want to hear, you as a fan, and I don't know how much it really does at the end of the day, right? Because you're making millions one way or another, right? But as a fan, you want to hear that. You want them to have this chip on their shoulder that they're going to use this year as their motivation, right? So to hear things like that at least can help you make believe in your own mind that, yeah, they do actually care that they lost in the first round to the New York Knicks, and they're going to learn from that and bring it this season as a result.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, that was one of the very first things I said at the beginning of this episode, and I think there was just a lot of excitement and there was a lot of energy, and you could feel the energy in the building with all the players being there day one. Somebody compared it to the first day of school, right? Where you're seeing all your friends again after the summer and you're all hanging out and saying hello. It definitely had that feeling. There was just a lot of positive energy and excitement, and can't wait for the season to get started, and expectations are sky high.
Yeah, totally.
Super
totally.
Pumped. Yeah, it's just super.
Yeah, totally. Pumped. And I was telling you before we started recording, it wasn't just the media day for the Cavs, it was the media day for the NBA, right? So I'm scrolling through Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, and all of a sudden I start seeing all the other teams around the NBA posting, their pictures of their players and all that stuff, like their hype posts.
Jimmy Butler.
Right? Yeah. Oh my God. The Jimmy Butler thing, man. I swear to God, I think I said this to you, or I said this to my buddies. I was like, at first when I saw that, I thought like someone photoshopped it on there. because it was like so shiny and it was moving weird, like his hair. If you don't know what we're talking about, just Google Jimmy Butler hair or Jimmy Butler Media Day,
Yeah.
and you'll see what we're talking about. But then it was just everywhere, and I was just in disbelief that was real. But
did you see
as
him
all the
standing in front of the green screen with
yeah.
Bam, and he's like some makeup person comes up and fixes his hair? Oh my god! And Bam's
it's
laughing.
the number of memes, they're memes for the rest of the year. If he chops off his hair tomorrow and goes with a buzz cut for the rest of the season, the media day memes will last an entire season and years to come.
Did you see Richard Jefferson making fun of it?
Oh yeah.
He was wearing a wig. Oh, it's hilarious.
The internet will do what the internet does in those moments. They seize the opportunity, and they did not disappoint. And it was. I got glued to my phone for a little bit because I'm seeing the Jimmy stuff. I'm seeing, Golden State post Chris Paul. I'm seeing Phoenix posting with Bradley Beal, and obviously there was a lot of things that happened over the summer. But it's funny how quickly your mind forgets that stuff, right? Because all that stuff happened months ago now, right? And it's like, holy crap, like, yeah, man, the league really like reshaped itself. Like, this is legit, like, holy crap. And just in the last week or so, two teams in the East, Alex, that were already on the upper tier of the East, made some huge trades, right? Damian Lillard goes to the Bucks, Drew Holiday goes to the Celtics. And I had forgotten that the Celtics had also brought in Porzingis as well. I forgot all about that, and I saw that in their media day stuff. And what's your take on just the way the league has reshaped? And I guess specifically the Bucks and the Celtics. How do you think that affects the Cavs this year, their chances, etc.?
Yeah, the Bucks for sure, man. The Bucks, I feel like they got a legitimate big three now, and they're going to be a force. They're going to be at the top. I mean, man, Giannis, Middleton, and now Dame on that team.
Brook Lopez is still around.
Yeah, Lopez. I mean, Giannis in the paint, Dame on the perimeter. Oh man, that's going to be a headache.
I was impressed they were able to make that deal and not move some other core piece, right? Like, I'm like, okay, I'm looking, as soon as I saw that drop, I'm like, okay, Middleton had to be part of this deal, right? Maybe not to Portland, but maybe to a third team, because Portland really doesn't make sense because they're going to have to blow it up and start from scratch. Brook Lopez, yeah, he's kind of old now, but maybe he gets moved, right? I'm like, some other piece had to move. And I'm looking and I'm just like, okay, Drew Holiday got moved, and that's a big piece, but it's like, they just it's a 1-for-1 at that point. Like, I wanted the Bucks to lose two pieces. You know what I mean? Like, multiple pieces to bring in Dame. That's the way this is supposed to work, right?
DeAndre Ayton moved from the
Yeah.
Suns.
Yep. Yeah, there was a lot of movement. And then the Celtics go grab Drew from the Blazers, right? And they didn't give up a ton either. They gave up Brogdon. Brogdon's a nice young player, right? But it's not Jaylen Brown. It's not Porzingis. Mm-hmm. It's not Jason Tatum, right? So they made a nice addition without the addition outweighed the subtraction in both of those teams' trades, in my opinion. And that's where it spells a little bit of bad news.
I'm just not that worried about Boston. I don't know why. Boston just doesn't worry me too much.
Don't forget Porzingis is there too now. And Porzingis is kind of I get it. But you got to remember now, Porzingis was the number 2 guy in Washington behind Bradley Beal. Now he can play that 3 or 4 scoring option on Boston with Al Horford there too, right at the center. So that's a scary starting lineup. And in a role like that, like Porzingis, all he has to do is get you 15 and 10. He could do that in his sleep. He doesn't have to get you 22.
I don't think he's what he used to be. I think that'll be a struggle for him.
Depends if he stays healthy, right? And that goes for any of these trades. Nothing's guaranteed. This is just all on paper. When we got Donovan Mitchell, it was like, oh shit, watch out, rest of the league, right? And look what happened. We get bounced in the first round. We had so many different starting lineups throughout last season because of injuries played a major factor. And And all it takes is someone to get injured on one of those teams, and now all of a sudden they don't potentially have that same ceiling that we're all saying here in October before they even played a game together. But man, when you see that stuff going down, it's like you take a little bit of a reality check of your own team that you're cheering for, and you're like, you start to stack them up, and you're like, I don't know, man. I feel like the Bucks and Celtics are in that top tier of the East, right? Even before those trades, I feel like only Cleveland fans would be saying we're also in that top tier, right? But now after those trades, we're in that second tier. The good news is that second tier feels kind of wide open in the East. The East is good. There's a lot of good teams, but there's not a clear number 3 or 4 and all the way down to 5, 6, 7, right? Every year there's some team that jumps. Every year there's some team that falls back, right? The Cavs just got to, again, just grab top 4 seed again. That's all they need to do this year, in my opinion. Don't allow yourself to fall out of that top 4, and we'll be fine. But it's still scary to see how the East is reshaped by those 2 trades happening. And man, the East was tough last year, and it ain't getting any easier.
Yeah, I agree. It's gonna be a hell of a battle. It's gonna be a great season.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be very competitive, and that's what you want at the end of the day too, is a competitive NBA, competitive team. And the good news is it doesn't feel like there's only 2 teams in the NBA that can win a championship this year. It's not the Cavs. Now, as fun as those years were, right? It was somewhat bad for the league. It was either Cleveland or the Golden State Warriors for 4 years. Like, you know, not a lot of people would have picked the Nuggets last year to win the championship. That was a bit of a surprise. The year the Bucks won it, that was a bit of a surprise, right? So it's going to be interesting to see what happens this year. The one fan base that has to be super salty, though, is the Miami fans, because you missed out on Dame. You've lost pieces from your roster, right? I was just looking at their roster today, and, you know, to me, they're not very deep. They have a lot of young guys on their bench that, sure, Miami fans will build up and say, you know, these are great young guys that are going to carry our season. But at the end of the day, they're like seven deep.
I saw
7 or 8 deep.
I saw Jimmy post a video, something about NBA needs to investigate this. You know, there had to have been
some tampering going on.
Some tampering going on. Yeah.
And it's like for 3 months, Dame said nothing but send me to Miami. And you're telling me you and Dame never had a conversation? Get the hell out of here. Get the hell out. Go, you know, just crazy. But the Miami fans have to be salty right now.
I just thought of this, but something else that I saw while watching Media Day was a stat that came out about Darius Garland being one of the top 5 players in NBA history for 3-point shooting. Was it 30 feet plus? Did you hear about this?
I did not.
So
hear
he's
about
number 5 for NBA players to shoot 3-pointers from 30 plus feet.
I wonder who else is in that top 5.
And he shot 38% when shooting 30 plus feet from the basket.
I have to imagine
Steph Curry was at 34%.
Okay. I have to imagine those top 5 players are within the last 10 to 15 years for the most part.
I know Dame was number 1.
Yeah. It just shows you how much the league has shifted, right? It's like, I'm not going to jack it up from 23 feet. I'm going to jack it from 33 feet.
Mm-hmm. Well, they asked Garland about it, and he's like, oh, well, then I'll have to take more of those, you know?
Yeah, that's crazy. I will say, too, one thing we did miss with the Media Day stuff was Evan Mobley. I don't know if you heard, for one, you know, we talked a couple months back about how he put a home gym at his house, right? Supposedly, he put on 7 pounds of muscle over the offseason. So he went from 215 to 222, which is good, right? I mean, that's what everybody has said from when we drafted him. You know, he's going to have to bulk up at some point in his career. Is he ever going to get to 250? Probably. You know, he's never going to be nothing like that. He's always going to be a Kevin Garnett-esque type of build. But it's good to hear that he put in that off-season work, kind of on his own. And Mitchell talked about that too. Like he did that on his own. The Cavs didn't come in and put that gym into his house. He could have came to the Cav facilities if he wanted to, right?
Yeah.
But Evan also talked about, his two goals this year was making the All-Star game and being on, the first team defensive team, all defensive team. So I thought that was two good goals for him.
Talked about hiring a
Um,
chef also.
yeah,
And
yeah,
they
he
they
did.
asked
Just
him what his favorite meal, his go-to meals are, and he said pasta and steak. So
hey, if you're trying to put on some pounds,
I suppose
can't eat salads, right? So
carbs and protein, I guess. Yeah.
yeah. But that's good though. That's what you want to hear your young guys doing, investing in themselves, investing in their bodies, right? And we want to see Evan take that leap. And part of that too is his body has to take that leap too, right? So that was good to hear. And kind of going back to these trades and everything, like it ain't going to get any easier for the Cavs or Evan Mobley. He's going to have tough matchups. He's going to be guarding, guys faster than him, smaller than him, bigger than him, heavier than him. So it's the good news is he's very agile. He can keep up with a lot of players. He obviously disrupts a lot of shots. A great defensive asset to have on the team. But it was good to hear he packed on a little bit of muscle over the offseason, and hopefully he can continue to do that the next couple years, and maybe he hits that 235 mark.
Yeah, I
And
thought
it's a
he
little
looked
bit more
visibly
respectable.
bigger. I thought he
Yeah.
looked bigger. I mean, his shoulders looked bigger. He just
Mm-hmm.
looked like you could tell he has been hitting the gym.
Yeah. So again, just very excited. Yes, it's only media day and just, players talking, not playing yet. But this type of stuff, man, it's been 5.5 months with no Cavs basketball. So we obviously love it and eat it up. And I have up their preseason schedule again. So Alex, October 10th, they play against the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks will be an interesting team, right? They got their young pieces. They got a nice backcourt with DeJounte Murray and Trae Young. And Trae Young had said, if you don't think I haven't been disrespected because I haven't been respected, then you don't know the NBA. So he's got a chip on his shoulder, right? But the Hawks will be an interesting team. They play the Magic October 12th. Then they play one of the foreign teams. I can't pronounce it. And then the Pacers. So like it's gonna be real here real soon, Alex. We're gonna have preseason basketball games to talk about, and then after that, man, the regular season starts here at the end of the month. Remember that Halloween game against New York? It's a nationally televised game. That's gonna be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Speaking of Orlando, real quick, did you see that Dwight Howard now wants to retire as an Orlando Magic?
No.
Yeah. So he's it's like he's on a political campaign. He's just trying to get back in the NBA, and I get it. Remember, he had like the Golden State tryout a couple weeks ago. That didn't pan out. And I just saw something today. I didn't check sources or anything like that, but I saw somewhere that he now wants to retire with the Orlando Magic. So he just wants back in the NBA. I get it. Tired of killing it in Taiwan.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anything else before we wrap it up, Alex, from your end?
Not that I can think of. I think
All right.
I think we're good, man.
Excited?
Oh yeah, can't wait.
Pumped up.
The only thing I got to figure out now is when. Still, the best way to get to watch Cavs games legitimately and stream them is Fubo TV, which is like $100 a month, right? It's kind of pricey, so I'm just gonna try to hold out as long as I can.
Yeah.
With subscribing to Fubo TV, if I can find some streams some other way, I'll watch those until I get pissed off enough with those disconnecting and pop-up ads and all that other nonsense.
I'm with you. I did some research too. I got lucky last year with a family member signing up for Fubo and doing the old password share thing, but they haven't said anything about re-upping on that because they had canceled it. So I think I'm gonna be in the same boat. And we'll see where we're at here in a little bit. But yeah, I'm just excited to see Cavs basketball again, see the new faces, see how this team gels, and hopefully continues to grow and takes that next step ultimately. That's what we all want to see. is okay. You made it to the playoffs, first round exit, disappointing. What are you going to do about it? How about take a run, and make it to the Eastern Conference Finals or something crazy like that? Shock the world. Cleveland versus the world, man. So,
Always.
yeah. So it'll be fun. Next time we talk, we'll probably be recapping that first game or two of the preseason, and that'll be fun to break that down, see how players look, and then it's off to the races from there. So exciting times, and let's go ahead and wrap it up, Alex.
All right.
And Cavs fans, want to thank you as always for tuning in and listening. And Alex, you want to let them know where they can go ahead and follow us and connect with us.
Follow us on Twitter. I refuse to say X, at Cavs Pick and Roll. Shoot us an email, cavspickandroll@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr. Check out our YouTube channel. You can watch these streams. You can see Corey's fresh haircut.
Hey.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. There it is, Cavs fans. We will talk to you again soon.
Peace out, Cavs fans.